Was Saturday's Game 4 loss to the Boston Bruins the beginning of the end of an era? We'll discuss on today's edition of the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.
You're Locked On Maple Leafs, your daily podcast on the Toronto Maple Leafs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome into the Locked On Leafs podcast, a daily Maple Leaf-centric podcast hosted by myself, Mike DiStefano, and my co-host, Dave Morassutti. Today's episode is brought to you by Monopoly Go. Gotta admit, I've got a competitive side, and it's a big fan of Monopoly Go, Dave. It's the mobile hit twist on the classic game, Monopoly. So join your friends and download Monopoly Go, now free on the App Store or on Google Play. What's going on, Dave? Mr. Big Shot, heard you on the Fan 590 this morning.
Yeah, I got asked yesterday afternoon to go on Saturday afternoon to go on the show, and I'm like, oh, I'm so hoping that this is not going to be a Leafs loss I'm going to have to talk about.
Yeah, well, it was, and we got to talk about it a little more, Dave. That's the subject.
Oh, that was I told the people in the Discord, this is the appetizer.
Yeah,
because I'm going to bring it in the main entree.
All right, well, let's get after it, buddy. The Leafs lose 3-1 in Game 4. They now trail the Boston Bruins 3-1 in the series, heading back to Boston for Game 5. All right, let's hear it, Dave. What'd you make of that effort, that loss on Saturday?
That was probably the most pathetic effort I have seen the Leafs play in the playoffs.
Man, that's a high bar. Like, you could say
it's not the worst game they've ever played, because let's not forget they lost to a Zamboni driver.
Yes.
Okay, that takes the cherry on the top of this mountain of garbage of losses this team has had. But to me, this was probably is it the worst loss? No, because they lost.
What bothered you? What bothered you most about this game, though?
What bothered me was it was predictable. Like they got down early, they shut down, and there wasn't a pushback. They didn't play with conviction. They reverted to old tactics that, frankly, just it makes you disgusted to watch. Like it was so frustrating. Bobbles the puck, doing the dump and chase after we said that the dump and chase is not what they should be doing. They still can't score on the power play. Oh, look, they allow a goal on the power play because their penalty kill is trash. Sammy let in a not so great goal through the 5-hole to start. Swayman is having an easy night. Like, I could pick many different things. It's just all compounds into one brutal effort. And the worst part about it wasn't even what they did during the game. It's what was said after the game.
Dude, I listened to Sheldon Keefe's post game. That looked like a man who was just very, I don't even know what the right word is. Like,
calculated.
Defeated. He sounded defeated to me. Like the realization settling in that this group, it's not going to happen this year. And if it doesn't happen this year, who knows what the future holds for this group and for him. Like that, to me, it sounded like he just didn't have answers and sounded defeated in that post-game press conference. To me, that's how I read it.
I mean, Sheldon Keefe should be used to that because that's been happening ever since he took over as the coach in the playoffs.
I know, but like, you know what I think it is? Like Toronto, like they've been rather close in this series. Like I not to steal like one of their phrases, like we're close. Like they're right there. But if you look at the 5-on-5 play, it has been very close. Like the two, like arguably Toronto has outplayed Boston at 5-on-5. So the problem is the Leafs just aren't able to score. Like this is now What are we at now? 11, I think 11 of the last
11,
12 games.
10 of the last 11 games where they've scored 2 or less.
2 or less goals. 10 of 11 straight playoff games where they've scored 2 or less goals. Like, they just can't finish. They just can't get it done. And there was a bit of a flurry of chances there in the third period. They did get one really nice goal by Mitch Marner. But after that, there was a couple of chances. Joel Edmondson, I thought, had a goal waiting for him, not once but twice prior to that penalty. But that penalty kind of that was it. That was game over. Once they took the penalty, it took away all the momentum that they had been building there in that third period. But for whatever reason, man, it's a different set of characters, different set of surrounding characters, I should say. But the main core still unable to get it done here. And obviously, things got really difficult when Auston Matthews left the game with an illness between the second and third period, did not return. Not really sure what his status is, how badly this illness is getting to him. This is bizarre. I want to get into this a little bit. Have you ever heard of a player being pulled in the middle of a playoff game, trailing like this due to an illness? I don't know, man. It's just weird to me. Like, and this has been plaguing this whole team all year long. It seems like there's been an illness, some sort of bug in the room for like 3-4 months. It's really bizarre.
We've heard so much about how all the Toronto teams, the Raptors, well, let's put the Raps and Leafs, have this, health and science department that's supposed to really, keep the teams at their top performance peak. Both the Leafs and Raptors, if you look, have had really, really bad run of injuries.
This isn't an injury. This is an illness.
And again, it's not injuries; it's an illness. And the word is, I think, it was TNT kind of said it would sound like food poisoning. Which, if you have ever had food poisoning, a normal person, that's like tough to do it as a player to play at a high level. Especially, I think it must have been like dehydration or something. Like, if I'm gonna say, it must have gone to the point where they said he can't continue like this.
He's probably yakking in between periods, I guess, and
yeah,
and that was it. I guess like all day he probably was, eating fluids. Probably had an IV a couple of times, and then once the game went, lost a lot of sweat, lost a lot of water, and wasn't able to replenish the fluids in time. I suppose that could be what had happened. But I don't know, man. I guess you don't want to have someone hurl in the middle of the ice, I suppose. But it's a tough look. Like, I'm not gonna lie, it's a tough look that a player is out with an illness. Like, I'll never forget this, dude. It was a bit of a different situation. I think it was more of heat exhaustion meets anxiousness situation. But I remember being in high school, and we had this one player, Eric Mickage. I think he wasn't feeling great, but like he was fine. But then mixed with the heat and the nervousness of it being like the first football game of the year in the middle of the afternoon, this guy went to go and show a blitz and literally yacked all over the opposing team's center, who was like about to snap the football, was puked all over his hand. It was disgusting. It was so gnarly. But like, he didn't leave the game. He puked and we moved on. We kept going, right? Like, I don't know, man. It's tough. It's tough to obviously question somebody who was sick and whatnot. And I know that like Auston Matthews obviously cares about wanting to win, wanting to play, but it's a weird look. I can't. I gotta be honest. I do find it odd that it wasn't an injury, but an illness that kind of kept him from playing that game at that moment. Team's down 3-0, on the verge of going down 3-1 on home ice, and couldn't tough it out for another 20 minutes. I don't know.
Well, and that's the other part too. Like, we've talked so much about how brutal this team has played at home, and that it's continued in the playoffs. That's such a terrible look.
Dude, what's that? Six straight losses at home on home ice in the playoffs? Yeah, 6 straight losses on home ice in the playoffs. That's brutal, man.
I'm trying to think if I was at the last home game that they won, the one they won like 7-3 against the Lightning. That might have been the last time they won a home game on home ice.
Game 2 of like 2022. That
Yeah,
one?
last year's playoff series. Because they would have lost
Yes,
game.
right.
They
Yeah,
lost
'cause
game
they got blown
5,
out. They got blown out like 5-0 or something like that. Maybe
lost
5
2.
5-1, I think. And then and then won 7-3 in game 2. Yeah, that's right. That's right. But still, like it's I don't know what it is, man, but they've really struggled on home ice this season. Like they barely have a 500 record on home ice when you combine the regular season, the postseason. Like I'm pretty sure it's roughly 500. Like it's pretty bad. And I don't know why that is, what the reason is for it. I'm not gonna like totally not going to blame the fans for the
Nope.
team's play. It's on the team to get going. So I really could not tell you what the problem is on home ice this year, but they've been so bad. Anyways, I want to continue talking about this game and breaking it down. We'll do that on the other side. Let's take a quick break and come back, and we'll get back into it. We can go through the good, the bad, the ugly from the loss. Lots of ugly, lots and lots of ugly, Dave. And then maybe some news and notes from around the league a little bit. Lots more action going on in the NHL. Really quickly on the other side, though, we are going to tell you how you can still get yourself a Auston Matthews jersey. The giveaway contest is still open, so we'll tell you on the other side how to get yourself involved in that. I'm Mike DiStefano and Dave Morassutti. You're listening to the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. It's playoff time in the NBA and NHL. Baseball's in full swing, and FanDuel has your place to bet on every game. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150, win or lose. You can bet on everything from slap shots to home runs to slam dunks, all on an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. What are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet an automatic win. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Today's show is also brought to you by Game Time. Game Time is an authorized ticket marketplace of the NBA, which makes getting playoff tickets even faster. The NHL as well. Price on Game Time app actually go down closer it gets to puck drop with killer last minute deals, all in prices, views your receipt, and the lowest price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying NHL tickets. They've got last minute deals, flash deals, zone deals, all in pricing. The lowest price guaranteed or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying hockey tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Welcome back into the Locked On Leafs podcast. Mike DiStefano and Dave Morassutti with you. We're the hosts here at Locked On Leafs, a daily Maple Leafs-centric podcast, which you can find wherever you stream your podcast from, whichever podcast streaming app you like to use. And we're also up on YouTube as well. Ran into some fans of the show at the Toronto Sports Expo over the weekend, Dave.
Nice.
Some people said to say hello to you. So hello from the various listeners who wanted me to say that. And also thank you very much to all those who did stop and say hello. And hopefully those, I didn't ask, but hopefully they all are already signed up for the Maple Leafs jersey giveaway, the Auston Matthews jersey giveaway. You could still go ahead and you could still get an opportunity to win that jersey. Dave, why don't you tell the good folks how they can be eligible to win?
Yeah, so just go to the show description. Make sure you scroll down. You're going to find the form. You're going to fill out some information. Make sure you give us your actual contact information so we can get in touch with you. We're going to do the draw, obviously, after round 1 is done. If and when, hopefully, this will not be done sooner rather than later. Hopefully, it will be later, not sooner. We're at just under 440 responses, so that's a little low. There's 5,000 subscribers. I'd want a little more people to want an Auston Matthews jersey. So yeah, so go out and make sure you go and sign up to that, and we will pick the winner. What I will do is I will actually take a video of like the whole thing being done, so there's no, questions of whether it was done fairly.
Yes, yes.
There'll be
Not
some
giving it
legitimacy
we're
to this.
not giving it to Dave's Zia Maria or my
Yeah.
Zia Maria. It's not going to Papa Frank. It's gonna go to somebody who earns it and somebody who follows all the instructions. And we'll get that jersey to you. Have until the end of round 1, which is closely approaching, unfortunately, Dave, which is an easy way to transition back into the Leafs chat. Leafs losing 3-1 in game 4, now trail 3-1 in the series. As we do after each and every game, every loss, that is, we go through the good, the bad, the ugly from the game. What was good, Dave? What was good? You haven't said one good thing about the Leafs. I'm curious to see what you've come up with here. What was good? We'll start there. You want me to start?
Yeah, you start.
Okay, I'll start. You think, because apparently the game was so awful that you can't think of anything.
No.
Joseph Wall was great when he came in. You think
God
Joseph
damn it, you
Wall
took the
played
one I
well?
was just thinking of.
Wow, that's the only thing that you can really.
He was perfect.
Wow, I mean, yeah, technically you're right. He was. He made some big stops and he came in. He
did.
was comfortable. He looked good.
Calm.
Calm. He was calming. It made the players seem calming. Made me as a observer a little calm in net. And that's always what I forget about Joseph Wall. Like it's like you don't know what you get till it's gone type of thing. Every time he goes back into the net, and I feel more settled and calm based off his demeanor, and I forget how good of a feeling that is. Just a weird aside, but anyways, I thought that he was good. You know, he came in. I'll be curious to see if they decide to go back to him for game number 5. I would not that Samsonov has been bad. Like this series loss, if they lose, is not on goaltending and is not on Samsonov. When you can only put up 2 goals a game, you can't expect for your goaltenders to go out and win you each and every hockey game. Should they be able to win you 1 in a series? Yes, they should. Samsonov has not quite been able to do that. Although he did win, was it 3-2 in game 2? But still, I think Joseph Wall, there was a track record earlier in the year of him stealing some hockey games and winning the games for Toronto. So I think, honestly, you roll at the hot hand. Joseph Wall looked better than Samsonov had when he came into the third period. So I think I'd go there. But outside of that, wasn't much else that was really good. It was a cool goal by Marner. Cool goal. I'll say that. You want to give him props for that at least, Dave?
Oh yeah, it only took how long to do that?
Well, he shot the puck, it's at least he didn't try and backhand sauce it to someone else in front. At least he shot, right? Yeah.
After he pulled,
it was at least
it was a good decision. But where has that been? That's what kills me about all this. And this is like kind of a bad for me. You see him score that goal. That's effort. That's making the effort to get yourself in a scoring position, opening yourself up, getting around the defense. They haven't been doing this all. This has been the problem all series. I looked at all those block shots the Bruins had. Every time the Leafs shot the puck, I was expecting it to either be an easy save for Swayman or for it to be blocked. Because the Leafs just were happy with standing and just taking what the Bruins were giving them. The Bruins played that perfectly. And to me, that's what was frustrating, is that there wasn't that extra effort to get yourself a better scoring chance. That's what Marner did. Marner could have easily have taken a shot when he first got the puck. What did he do? No, he took a little extra, made an extra move. Everybody was scrambling, even the goaltender. It's funny what happens when you get the goaltender moving side to side, huh, Mike?
Yeah. No, I agree. Just looking at natural stat trick, through 60 minutes of play, the Toronto Maple Leafs had a whopping 7 high danger chances. So not a whole lot of high quality.
We were talking about how close they had been at 5-on-5, and I've been tracking the numbers quite a bit. This to me was probably one of their, out of all the games in the series, this is probably their worst one at 5-on-5. So I thought the Bruins had a lot more pressure in this game. They weren't giving the Leafs a lot of time and space at 5-on-5. I think that was by design because they knew they were losing that battle a little bit.
Yeah. At 5-on-5, that was all game, by the way, not at 5-on-5. That was the whole game. At 5-on-5, they had 6 high danger chances. But the Bruins only had 7. Like that's the biggest issue, is like, so at 5-on-5, Toronto technically had 54% expected goals through at 5-on-5, but on the penalty kill, you give up a whole bunch of chances. You have 6 high danger chances. You have 10 scoring chances on the penalty kill and allowed a goal. Like, you talk about, the bad or ugly, maybe even special teams. Again, the problem. That was the problem in not only this game, but in the whole series. It's been special teams. They cannot buy a goal on the man advantage, and they can't go a game without giving one up. Like, you're automatically starting the game down one cob just based off of special teams. And it's exactly what happened again here tonight, or Saturday night, rather, right? Couldn't score on the power play, had a couple of looks, but really didn't really generate a whole lot. I think Sheldon Keefe, even in the post game, touched on how, again, the power play has been killer for them, and killer in a bad way. It's been killing them, and how he felt that they did not generate enough in that first period when they got a couple power play opportunities. They didn't generate enough to build any momentum off of it. And that, that's a big reason for why the Leafs weren't able to do a whole lot, even afterward. So special teams for me has been a killer all series long, and it was ugly again. Ugly again. And the reason for the loss once again on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, and credit to Kevin Bieksa, who was kind of breaking down some of the bad plays in that second period. So in the second period intermission, and he brought up the power play, and he says, like, they go with the 4 forwards on the 4-on-3. Yeah. Tavares wins the draw, and there's nobody there to get the puck because the guy is lined up wrong. Now, whose fault is that? Generally, the coach tells the guys where they need to be, and if they notice a guy's on a position, someone's usually yelling, "Hey, dummy, move over!"
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, it's tough. It is tough. Like, I guess realistically, yeah, like Guy Boucher, who is the power play coach, should have yelled to the guys on the ice, hey, no one's covering the point. And then, I don't know, Marner probably would have ended up covering the point to win if the play was to win the draw back to whoever was back there, but no one was back there.
And you wasted how many seconds? Like, to me, that's also
reload again.
That's kind of on Tavares too, because Tavares is the face-off guy. He's got to tell whoever's on the point, I'm going to win the draw, and if I'm winning the draw, this is where the puck is likely going to go. So make sure you're able to receive it in this position.
Yeah, I guess so. But I mean, yeah, that conversation usually does happen before the face-off. So yeah, just lack of detail, lack of focus, and it's been a common theme all throughout. Just. Details. When you don't have them, it kills you. In Toronto, just a couple of times, ill detailed, and it kills you, right? You look at the first goal from JVR, details. You don't clear the puck. Reeves can't get it out. You got Brody, who's puck watching, who just assumed that it was going to get out instead of trying to jump up and do his own thing, and that allowed JVR to be wide open in front of the net. Sure, wasn't a good goal to allow right through the 5-hole, but at the same time, if that play was done properly, either A, would have got put out of the zone, or Brody, or I believe it was Brody's man, Brody would have left below the blue line, because there was 2 guys below the blue line at that point.
Brody had a great return to the lineup, because then he decided
the 2-on-0 that he allowed.
Yeah, so you realize that Brad Marchand's coming full steam ahead. So your plan is to get down on your knees to block a dump in, instead of saying, you know what, let me pull back and defend the guy coming full steam ahead at me.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I couldn't tell you what to do. He probably tried to. I guarantee you. I mean, he's the king of doing that. Tried to drop and stop the puck in its tracks, and then try and transition up ice with those two going, northbound. And he was going to try and transition the other way, but unfortunately, Brad Marchand's a smart guy. If he sees you going down, he's just going to flip it over your stick. That's exactly what he did. And it was a 2-on-0 the other way, and boom, they end up scoring with 40 seconds left in the period. That was kind of the dagger. That totally sucked to give up a goal again in the final minute, and off a broken, stupid play like that. TJ Brody's play was not ugly, by the way, on the ice for a
Yeah.
couple of goals, and both of them, it was like, Broads, what you doing, man? It's crazy how much this guy's game has fallen off, and he's in his head too. Like now, he's not even, making good decisions either. Like it's tough. It's tough to watch. Luckily, his contract is going to be over this year, and it's not something that's going to have to linger for any longer. All right, let's take another break. Let's come back. There was a big ordeal made about the bickering on the bench. Let's come back and talk about it a little bit, see what we think. Sheldon Keefe had some interesting words on it that I'd like to share, and then we'll take a look at some news and notes from around the league. See where everything else is at around the playoffs. One team has gone through, the Rangers, with a sweep of the Washington Capitals. We'll catch you up on everything else on the other side. You're listening to the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Today's show is brought to you by Monopoly Go. All right, game off. We got to pause here. We got to talk about Monopoly Go. I know what you're saying. Flag on the play. You already know about that. But there's just so much good stuff in this game. Monopoly Go, you can team up with your friends for timed tournaments where you work together to build up each other's boards. The more you win together, the more awesome prizes you unlocked, and there's so much to get. You can get unique stickers. You could trade with your friends, complete albums for big prizes, cool new playing pieces to travel the boards with. There's so much going on. Plus, Monopoly Go feels new and exciting every day with constantly changing tournaments and challenges. A ton include their own unique mini games like digging for treasure or a robot pachinko machine, and there's always new timed events that help you win big, like massive multipliers for everything you win or rent freezes. There's always something fun to discover in Monopoly Go, so get off the bench and go download it free now on Google Play or on the App Store. Game on! Welcome back into the Locked On Leafs podcast. Mike DiStefano and Dave Morassutti. Actually, Dave, can you pull up the video? I think TikTok Tomar definitely has it up on Twitter or something. Sorry, I should have pre-warned you that I wanted the viz of this, but there's been a lot of discourse after the game on the bickering on the bench between Auston Matthews, Mitch Marner, and William Nylander. This is obviously before Matthews left the game with injury, but those three guys kind of having a bit of a heated conversation. And this is what it looked like for those who are watching via YouTube. Those three, and of course, Tyler Bertuzzi's like, I'm not getting in the middle of this at all. And you could just see them, like, for the first time. They're all sitting there, and, Marner throwing his gloves like a little baby, as per usual. But they're out there kind of getting into a bit of a spat on the bench. Not something we've seen a lot of out of these three, who usually have a pretty calming, not calming's not the right word. What's the right word I'm looking for?
Composed.
Nah. Yeah, I guess composed disposition. Where
we've never seen them do
relaxed, very relaxed disposition from Matthews and Nylander. We've seen Marner, have a little bit. He wears his shirt on his sleeve, or his heart on his sleeve for sure, but not something we've seen before. What did you make of it? Because it seems like Twitter had a big stir, and people are, thinking that this could be the beginning of the end of the Matthews, Marner, Nylander era, and that these three are realizing themselves that they can't coexist with one another and bring success to this franchise, and things are starting to boil over. How much are you reading into this spat?
Well, so here's the thing. I was annoyed because you look at why, at first people are like, oh, they're booing the fans, and I'm sure some people were complaining about that, and I'm like, the fans were booing, and I'm like, well, they paid a lot of money and they were not giving a good enough effort. I didn't totally hate it at one point, because it's like, at least it shows that they're not happy with what's going on, right? Because at times, I've always said the issue I've had with this team is who's holding each other accountable when things aren't going right? At times it was Patrick Marleau, it was Jason Spezza kind of speaking up, right? When things weren't going right. And I said, well, now those guys are gone. They have to do it with each other. And to me, that's that type of moment where, you know what? And I don't know what exactly Marner was throwing his gloves about. I don't know what was going on. I'm sure he was not happy with something.
He's having a hissy fit of some kind.
Yeah, he wasn't too happy. But to me, what really annoyed me was them saying, "Oh no, it wasn't frustration." Well, then what the heck was it? Like, you don't throw your gloves if you're not happy. Like, you
Yeah,
don't just throw.
I don't know. Like, I could care less what they say about that little spat. Like, it wasn't frustration, but I'm not going to take anything for face value of what they say. I don't think it's really important about that. But I thought Keefe's comments on the situation were very interesting. He said that he sees it as progress. It's showing that they actually care. And he actually said that wasn't happening in the past. That wouldn't happen in the past. That there was a lack of communication on stuff like that in the past. So he said because they were having those on the bench arguments, it's showing A, passion that they care, and B, that they know they need to work through it and work through it quick, obviously, because of A, where the score was at and where the score was trending to and what the series was trending to. So he appreciated it. He liked it. Now, I can reason with a lot of that, but I'll say this, it also shows how much pressure they know is on them to succeed, because I think everybody at their core knows that if this doesn't end well, it could be the beginning of the end for this era. And I think you're seeing like them crack under that pressure for the first time ever with like that realization based on how this series has gone.
Yeah. And you look at why people are upset with this core, especially with Marner. It's because when you watch them play, I'm not saying they don't care, but the effort that they're giving doesn't look like the effort I see other stars giving for their teams. Like, you can say, like, Connor McDavid, we know he's the best player in the world. Leon Draisaitl, they're all world players, probably some of the best playoff performers we've seen in a long time.
Is it fair even to say though that like it is like they're not giving effort? I don't even know if that's fair to say. I just think maybe it's they're, I don't know, they're trying a little too hard almost and not playing hockey. They're not playing freely.
Well, I think that's probably a little bit of too, but it's just like you have to dictate what's happening. They're just kind of taking what's being given to them. And to me, that's not what a star player does. A star player kind of, he has to put his stamp on what's going on. Look at Cale Makar. You watch that goal he scored against the Jets, where he's just like, you know what? I'm doing this myself. That's what star players do. They put their stamp. They're the ones that say, you can pull up a wall in front of me. I'm just going to run through that wall. I'm watching all these other games, and this is where I really am gauging the Leafs versus all these other contenders, because they're the ones that are being compared, right? Wyatt Johnson, like he's right, like just willing his team to victory, right?
I gotta give a stud. He's an absolute stud. I gave a shout out. I had a chuckle. My buddy Chris Horvat listens to the show sometimes. He's producer Cheese for those who listen to TSN 1050. I did have a chuckle at one of his tweets. He said, if anyone has, and this, I think this was this afternoon, maybe, or maybe last night, or yesterday, perhaps. When was the overtime game? 2 days ago? Last night. So it would have been this afternoon. That if anybody needs me, I'm going to be crafting Marner for Johnston trade proposals for the next afternoon. Please. Please do not disturb. That was quite funny.
Yeah, and look at Vancouver. They're on their third string goaltender. JT Miller and Brock Besser are leading the charge. Brock Besser scored a hat trick.
Yeah.
That team was down 2 goals in the last 2 minutes, and they pushed back. Leafs were down 2 goals in the last 2 minutes. What did they do?
Yeah, not push back. I'll say this, though. They're having a little Marner situation over there, too. They got a lot of people saying Petey's the Marner of the Canucks.
Oof.
And that's not a good thing to be associated with come playoff time. Regular season Marner? Yeah, you want to be that, absolutely. Yep. 2-time first-team All-Pro winger? Hell yeah, give me regular season Marner all day. Playoff Marner? It's not
That's
good to
not
be.
that's not a good look.
Not a good comparison to have. But they're up 3-1 in that series. Everyone's up 3-1 basically now. Like the Bruins are up 3-1, Carolina's up 3-1, Vancouver's up 3-1, Colorado's up 3-1, Florida's up 3-1. The only two games the Rangers swept 4-0, gone. Goodbye.
Ooh, oh, shocker.
Yeah, I know. Everyone kind of saw that one coming. The only series that are somewhat tight-ish, I suppose, is Vegas and Edmonton.
Eh,
Those series just at 2-1, and I think
Edmonton's playing as we're recording,
we're
and
recording. What's the
it's
score?
1-0 Edmonton through 2 periods after they exploded for goals the night before. But
Yeah.
I
So
think Edmonton's finally figured it out after losing game 2, so that series is not going to go the distance.
Right. So there's a good chance we're going to wake up, and by the time people listen to the show, every series is going to be at 3-1, except for Vegas, Dallas.
Unless the Oilers collapse in the third period, which has happened on the show where we say one team's good and
Yeah, that's true.
they're on.
We should try and do the shows live for Toronto and talk about, like, do you think do we yield that type of power? You think talk about Toronto losing because they're trailing the third, and all of a sudden the comeback happens? I don't know. But yeah, it's kind of interesting what's going on around the league. Like not many 2-2 series. There's a lot of teams that are, taking charge, and looks like we might have a pretty quick first round for a lot of these series, which is interesting. I didn't expect to see that at all. All right, why don't we leave it there, Dave? We'll leave it there. We got another show tomorrow, obviously, where we're gonna tee up Game 5, Leafs Bruins, and hopefully it's not the last tee up of the year, buddy. Hopefully we'll have at least one more, hopefully many more before the season's out. But got to get it tomorrow to extend it, baby. Got to get it tomorrow. But that'll do it for us here today on the podcast. I'd like to thank you all for listening and supporting the show. You can subscribe to Locked On Leafs podcast on all platforms and receive daily Leafs content. Follow myself on X at Mickey_Canuck. Follow Dave at D_Morassutti, and follow the show as well at Locked On Leafs. Remember, you still have a chance to go and submit yourself for the Auston Matthews jersey giveaway. Go check out the details in the show notes below. We'll be back with another episode for you guys tomorrow. Until then, keep locked right here on Locked On Leafs.